You know, if you have an idea for a song, there's no reason to not start writing it. You don't have to wait years for your friend to become an amazing drummer or spend loads of money on an expensive string quartet. You can play any instrument you want using MIDI and digital software. This brilliant track called Laura Palmer of Bastille's #1 album was produced exactly like that. MIDI is a system that allows you to create the sounds of loads of instruments on a computer. You can also use MIDI instruments, like keyboards or drum pads. The keys and pads can trigger sounds on your computer, where you can later alter the pitch, strength, or sound of any of the notes, which makes MIDI technology great for songwriting, because you can play any instrument in the world. Dan Smith from Bastille and his producer Mark Crew have written a lot of songs, including Laura Palmer, using MIDI technology. I'm heading out to meet them to get a bit more info. Hey guys, nice to meet you. How's it going? All right?
Yeah, all right.
Dev, nice to meet you. How do you guys use MIDI technology?
MIDI technology, in the way that we use it, allows us to basically play anything into a keyboard and have any sounds in the world that we want to come out. We've used it throughout the whole writing process, like when I'm recording demos in my room. I will get a kind of a lyric or a melody idea. I kind of start working the songs into a computer before the actual songs are finished. So I'll map out maybe the piano line, get the chords together, and do bits of the melody, and then try and think of a beat.
So how do you start? Where do the ideas and sounds for a track like Laura Palmer come from?
Well, I had these sort of chords, and I wanted to do these big, weird kind of atmospheric oohs that like do this sort of like descending line. And I think I initially put it in piano, and I sung the oohs in over the top. Part of the demoing process is that once I've played in the chords or the notes or the parts or the beats or whatever, those things are there, and they're really changeable. You can have like a normal piano sound, and then you can very easily change that to electric piano, which is another sound that we use. This sort of distorted electric piano, we use it quite a lot on the album. And you know, I could just click a button and then you can be playing
the timpani part from the beginning of the song. Or strings.
Or strings as well. Right. For us, it's great to just have it there and in our minds know that it's going to change a bit.
So you started with an idea on your laptop. How did you progress from a demo to the final version?
Once we'd listened to the demo together, we started to focus on the sections, starting with the intro with the drums that Dan had already done and his piano part and oohs. With the intro, we knew the oohs would probably stay and be something real, if not a voice. So the first thing we focused on was the drum sound, which Dan wanted to sound as much like a pulsing heart as possible. So we sat and went through some different sounds and tried to find something that made us think of a heartbeat. And then we started working on how to program the MIDI to make it pulse as much as possible. We needed it to also be the backbone of the track and be really solid, so we ended up putting more of a real drum kit, fall to the floor kick on top of that. Our main job in the chorus was to get the drum kit sounding like a real drummer. We used the MIDI from Dan's original demo and chose a drum kit sound and went through all the different parts of that kit, but we missed the big cracky explosion of Dan's original, more electronic snare that was in his demo. So over the top of that, we used the same piece of MIDI, but just for the snare, to play a slightly different sound.
With all the timpani and the drums and the pulse and the new snare sort of all layered in, it kind of sounds up and big and driving kind of exactly how we wanted it to. There are parts that were in the initial demo that we then decided to like properly strip out when it came to the album version. So this sort of kind of ran through the verse initially, and then the chorus exploded into like a big arpeggio. And we kept the arpeggio in the final version of the song. I mean, MIDI is kind of completely fundamental to how we work, and you can be really, really ambitious with how you want things to sound and where you want to go with the track. You know, it's not me sitting at a piano writing a song and trying to imagine what it's going to sound like with drums in it or what it's going to sound like with strings on top. You can, from the off, in the laptop, start recording it. And even if they sound a bit cheap and a bit rubbish initially, it allows you to bring in instruments and sounds that you would never be able to find, or that would cost a fortune to try and be able to record yourself.
can easily get your hands on some of this MIDI technology. So why not come up with an idea and get experimenting yourself? You got a whole orchestra at your fingertips.